Hey, Emily. Oh,
Hi.
this is so fun. Hey, Renee. How are you
Hey
guys?
there. As we say, happy whatever day it is, because we don't know
Happy whatever.
anymore.
Yeah. What day of the week is it?
I don't know.
Right.
It ends in a Y. We're good. Today's a good day. The sun is
Yeah.
shining here, so it's awesome. And Emily's in Austin, and Renee from the outside to look in and tell you how special. Well, that's who we have today with us, and who we have here in Austin with our border
Great.
realtor. So I'm super excited to have you today.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you. I'm super pumped to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, so let's introduce, for those that don't know who you are, Emily is our CEO of the Austin Board of Realtors. She has a phenomenal background and just so much awesome things that she brings to the board, but you're also the youngest CEO,
I am, yeah,
right?
of ABOR. Yes, I'm
Female.
the first female and youngest CEO ever at the Austin Board of Realtors. There were many men that came before me, and they all did great job of establishing the organization that I inherited, and now we're taking it a little bit of a different direction, which is fun.
Well, and you're shaking it up, and
Yeah.
we love how you're leading. And I was saying this earlier, you're leading bold and you're leading well, and people are taking notice, not even just in Austin, but around the country. And when you've been on the stage at Inman, and it's funny because Renee, you were in Inman, and a lot of people were in Inman when you were there. I wasn't there, and I was getting texts going, "Oh my gosh, you guys are so lucky. Your Austin Board of Realtors CEO is amazing." And when you're getting texts like that, when the whole nation, is taking notice, it's pretty. I'm like, yeah, Austin rocks.
Well, I'm glad I made you proud.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness, you should all be so proud, because it was Inman summer of 2019, and it was. I just said the jaws were on the floor in all the right ways, and when I left that group that was attending your speech, I said, now that powerhouse is going to make a difference in this industry, and it fired me up.
Oh, well, thanks. It's kind of interesting story about that. I was not scheduled to speak originally on the main stage. I've done the moderating of the data track for a couple of years at this point, and I love doing that. That's my wheelhouse. It's all the association and MLS stuff. And that Brad lost a speaker in the lineup, and a mutual friend of ours, David Sharon, recommended that he give me a call because he thought that I might be able to fill in. I'm not sure what he was thinking when he thought I might be able to fill in, except that I do enjoy speaking all the time, every time. My husband would tell you so. But Brad called me and he said, I don't really know what you would talk about, but do you want to fill in this spot on the main stage at Inman? And I thought, well, yeah, but I'd like some direction about what is here. And he gave me some guidance, but I thought about it and I thought, I have a story to tell that is my own and that is the Austin Board of Realtors. And in parallel, those two stories are really powerful. And so I felt really compelled that if I was going to do it and stand in kind of last minute and go through the stress of that, I wanted to tell the story I wanted to tell. And thank goodness Brad was all about it and really gracious in allowing me that time. So it was an honor and it was really fun, but it was also just kind of crazy timing. And I think if I'd known any more in advance, I would have been too stressed to manage it. So it's probably good it was a last minute thing.
Well, and that's why it worked out so well. And
yeah.
So what do you want to share some of your background, some of your story with us?
Sure. Yeah. Sure. So on the personal side, the story that I told on that stage is about my youngest son. So I have two little boys, Hudson and Barrett. We call Barrett Bear. Hudson is 8, turning 9 this summer, going on 30, I think, and Barrett is 5 and hell on wheels wild. And he earned his wild because Barrett was born in kidney failure. So I knew when I was pregnant with him that his kidneys were not going to work all the way. When he was born, they were definitely much worse than we had expected. And so he went on dialysis at just 3 weeks old. He was at 5 days old, had surgery to place his catheter, and 3 weeks old began. And then just 3 weeks before his second birthday, he had a kidney transplant. And so I had this really crazy experience of all of the time that was happening, I was having this rise in my career at the association, which was just nuts. I was becoming the COO of the operation, which was big and powerful and felt like a lot of business at the same time that I was sleeping on the floor at the children's hospital trying to make sure that Bear made it to the next round and got to his transplant. And it was a powerful experience because I think it did connect me with, you know, what you can do when things are really hard and how resilient we actually are when we don't know we are. And then it was really just after that that ABOR had kind of its rock bottom experience. So at the Austin Board of Realtors, we had quite a bit of board politics that resulted in the removal of 2 board members who were pretty big leaders in our market area. When they were removed, there were a lot of questions about why it happened and how it happened, and it was a pretty ugly time. It turned into a lawsuit against the association. There was a lot of just breakdown in the system, in the governance system. And I look back on that time and I think what a blessing it was, because we were pretty twisted at the time. You know, things had been the way they had been a very long time. They were operating in the way that a lot of associations still do today, which is no fault to them, just what we all know and have become accustomed to. But we needed a rock bottom to reset our expectations and reset our vision about what we could be in the future. And so I stood on an Inman stage and told both about my son and that experience and about ABOR's kind of breakdown and then rise again, to say that I think that we need to do the same thing as an industry. We need a new vision about what our future is. We need a new reset. Maybe a global pandemic is going to give it to us. I had not expected at that time that this would be the case, but you know, we need to get straight and get right on what our future looks like. And it can't be from a place of fear, and it certainly shouldn't be from a place of whininess, which is what I've seen in some of our industry colleagues.
I just got
That's what I
goosebumps
told him
already. No, I was processing, Emily, because I got goosebumps because what you're speaking, oh my goodness, breath of fresh air, and it's so needed. Your leadership and in the style that you have is very much needed in this industry.
Well,
So
I appreciate that.
Big props for that.
I really appreciate that. I will tell you, there aren't more of me's. There are lots of people with great energy in this business, and on the association side, in MLSs, in brokerage, across the nation. I think we just have to work together to really create momentum around that energy that we've all got individually. But I think we got into a rut as an industry for a while. And I think it's, you know, this may be a really great time for us to figure out our what next and our big vision.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, the industry, if you look at our industry, it hasn't really evolved and it hasn't really changed. And we talk about this in our business all the time. And even from where you're sitting, from the board standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, why fix something if it doesn't really need to be fixed? Everybody's complacent. Everybody's just like, it's working, right?
Yeah.
And yes, there are a lot of people that might have energy and ideas and excitement, but nobody was speaking up. And what I am so proud about is that you stood up and you spoke up. And I think because of that, there's so many other people that are more open to creative conversations and open dialogues. And that's just going to help us all as an industry. Obviously, we're very proud that you're starting that trend and that initiative, but people I think are fearful to even stand up. They might have some great ideas, but this has been going on for so long, they don't want to upset, I mean, as my grandmother would say, the apple cart, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Good Old Boy Network, and that's just really what it was and what it is. And so it's fun to see you coming in with this energy and this new perspective and this youthfulness, not necessarily age, but you know what I mean? Like a new excitement about what we're all doing. Cause that's, I mean, I'm excited about what I'm doing. And so have everybody surrounding us and in our industry exciting. I mean, think of what we're going to accomplish together.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I think, you know, there are some amazing things about the way that our business is structured. There are amazing things about realtors and who you are as people. And if we just kind of tap into that and leverage it the right way, get you all running in the same direction, there is just totally, it'll be next level. And I think I get excited about that. I get excited about what you can do when just given a few resources and a nudge, right? And I think that's the purpose of the association and the MLS, is to help you with those resources and the nudge. Because you guys have it in you. I mean, anybody that can be in this business and survive and thrive in it and love it, it takes a special kind of person, and that person is really powerful and really amazing, but we need to help everybody run in the same direction sometimes.
And it's just creating new opportunities, which is
Yeah.
awesome. And especially with what's going on right now, like this got everybody's like, okay, which direction do we go? What do we need to do? So I think this is opportunity. This is what we keep talking about. Let's not be fear-based.
Yeah.
Focused on
I
the
mean, I think about, like, I don't know how you guys are, but I think about the percentage of my membership that have joined this business in the last 10 years who have never picked up the phone. They've never warmed a lead. They don't know what it's like when a buyer is not knocking down your door. They don't know what it's like to have, bukus of inventory and tons of homes to show, as opposed to the tight capacity we see in most markets today. And they just don't know what the other side looks like. And I think there's great opportunity for them to take a step back and evaluate the other side of this business that they've not been a part of. And I think there will be a lot of leaders, folks who are entrenched in the business for a long time, who will think about it differently, because this environment and this experience is different than others that have come before it. But there's a lot to learn still, and that there can be energy with that.
Emily, you had mentioned a time, your son that you call Bear was going through the kidney dialysis, and you said that you were experiencing growth in your career as you were evolving through the Austin Board of Realtors. I can envision such an amount of tenacity, but also obviously a lot of fear. You've come through that.
Yeah.
I see right now realtors who are operating in fear, and it's scary, right? We have an entire crisis going on globally. It's a scary place to be. What suggestions or advice or guidance do you have for realtors to navigate the difference between the fear mindset and overcoming whatever business adversity we're all facing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I definitely have experienced it both professionally and personally. There is no place for fear. That's my feeling about that, is that nothing good will come of that. I mean, I think you owe it to yourself to give acknowledgement to that feeling and to be realistic about the anxieties and the angst that's in your life right now. But if you stay in that place, you will not progress. You will not move through this. You will not have a full and complete experience. You will be at step one. And staying at step one is not going to be a benefit to you or your loved ones, those that you support. There's just no place for that. And I can tell you that even today, I mean, I could absolutely be living in fear of a virus that is killing people when I live with an immunocompromised 5-year-old, right? I mean, take that in for a minute. I had to take him for labs last week because he has them every 3 months, and he hasn't left the house in weeks, and I hated taking him somewhere. And that was absolutely a fear-based experience. The flip side of that is when we take him to his labs and I get the feedback from his nephrologist that he is happy and healthy and his kidney is well, what a great thing, right? And so scary things can be really great, and they can grow us, and we just have to move through them. So I guess my first advice is don't stay stuck. You should acknowledge your fear, acknowledge your angst, allow it to be, but just don't stay there. I am definitely, we're into the Myers-Briggs type at the Austin Board of Realtors, the MBTI. I am an ENTJ, which means I'm a driver. It's probably a fault, but in these cases, it's a blessing, because I go straight into like management mode. I managed the baby in the hospital. I was the CEO of that baby. Every doctor came through me, every nurse came through me, and that's what I knew how to do. So I think you go back to those things that come intuitively to you when you're in a fear position or posture, because those are the things that will come naturally and that you can excel at naturally, and really get back to your basics. Somebody asked me recently how I'm leading or how I'm managing right now. And I said, it's so interesting because yes, this is a very technology driven environment because we're having to connect in these ways, but it's very much a connecting environment. It is high touch. I'm calling our big brokers in our market regularly on the phone, texting, touching base, things that we might not do if we were just in market and I ran into them at events or gatherings. But it's, we're getting back to basics in terms of how we connect with people. And I think that's really powerful too when you're feeling that fear. You need to connect with folks that create that energy and momentum for you and keep you driving.
We're hearing a common theme. Everybody we talk to, it's always get back to the basics, right?
Yeah.
And being more intentional.
Yeah, and your basics are going to be different than somebody else's. You know, my point would be like, do what comes intuitively to you, because you can do that almost on autopilot. And that if you are in that paralysis version of fear, if you get back to what you know, you're going to move forward, and then you'll get into the uncomfortable stuff later.
The uncomfortable is where we grow, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bit. And that Elizabeth and I have spoken to a lot of inspiring leaders, and hearing that common thread among everyone is that we have to stay focused on the silver lining and the lessons that are being spoken to us, because if we focus on it, there is a beauty on the other side that we know will come out stronger, which is, it's important.
Yeah, I'm very much a believer in that concept of bittersweet, that you would never know what sweet tasted like if you had not had bitter first. And I think, you know, I would never know like how to be the mama I am today. I would not know how to lead this association the way that I do today if we had not had rock bottoms. And I think that it's okay to acknowledge that a rock bottom wasn't fun and that it's not what we desire, but there's a lot of great things that come out of having established where your bottom is and then going up from there.
Well, and people are watching, right? And I love that, because I think just with everything going on, we've talked to people about safety, we've talked about people about processes, we've talked about people about communication, and you know, you all have done a really great job with communicating and keeping us posted. It was funny because I have this group of agents that we always talk and we're accountable, and they were stuck in fear, right?
Yeah.
And there was it was on Voxer, if you know what that is, but we were going back and forth on Voxer, and they were like, Elizabeth, why aren't you agreeing with us, essentially? And I was like, I'm not watching the news. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm removing myself from things that I know are going to add more stress for me and anxiety. And they said, well, how are you keeping up with what we're supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to be? And I was like, because the Board of Realtors has been keeping me posted. Like,
yeah.
I am so, right? I mean, you're sending emails, we're getting notices. You all were so on top of what we should be doing, what you recommended, how we should handle things, that was a positive that I could focus on instead of watching the negative news or what have you, but I was still being informed. And they're like, oh, I guess you're right. So it was just switching it a little bit, right? And so thank you for that. You all, I know you've done a lot, and I know there was a lot of struggle, and I know it's not probably all perfect, but we see a huge increase in what y'all are doing. And so as a member, I want to say thank you, because you are keeping us updated. You are making us feel like our voice is important and we're being heard, and you're making changes to complement what we're already doing.
Oh, I appreciate that. You know, what's important to us and how we communicate to you is that we do it in a way that is human. So like one of the biggest things that we did differently when I was first becoming CEO and we were needing to kind of reestablish who we were and regain the trust of our membership was that we talked to you like people.
Right.
And like the people that you are spunky, type A salespeople who love connection. So if I speak to you institutionally, you delete and move on. But if I talk to you in the way that we're talking now, you engage. And so we've always been really, since that time, we've been really dedicated to speaking to you in the way that we think is the way that you will absorb it and the way that you can hear it. And the same was true with these COVID-19 resources. You know, we did things like to create color sheets for you to give to the kids that you're having to like quarantine to the other room because you're on a Zoom call on a listing presentation, or, you know, just trying to think about that kind of whole health and the whole person as opposed to just serving your business, because we think if you're taking care of all of you, then you're going to be more successful in serving your business needs as well.
I would love for you to dive in a little bit on what are you seeing with the members? We feel sometimes that it changes hour to hour. I mean, you want to talk about ever evolving environment to navigate this. We're all going to come out stronger for sure, because it changes often. What are you seeing in your local members and in your markets? And maybe if you want to talk a little bit about the resources that are available for the Board of Realtors that you have available.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think we're seeing a really resilient market. and a really resilient group of realtors. So we were in such a position in Austin of not enough capacity for the demand that we have. That pipeline is so long and deep that even with a hit to it in terms of the demand from folks that might have lost jobs or that are in a different financial position, just don't feel comfortable moving right now, that demand is still so strong and so long and far out that this market is really sustaining pretty strong and fast and furious still. And in some ways, actually, because folks have taken listings off market because they feel uncomfortable proceeding at this time, it's gotten even tighter and more challenging in terms of that capacity meeting demand formula that makes our market go round. So we're seeing a strong market, which we think is great. We think that the things that have made Austin strong to date economically, the diversity of our economics, the things that drive people to love Austin are still going to be there even when we can leave our homes. So it's, you know, the really great thing is that this is giving time to realtor members who are smart to reinvest in connecting with folks, reinvest in, you know, having conversation about what their perception is of the home that they're in for so long these days. I mean, I've learned things about my pantry that I'll never do again. You know, there's a lot of really great conversation to be had with your sphere about what their experiences have been in this process and how that will inform decisions that they might make later, whether they were thinking about buying or selling or not. I mean, I think it's just a great touch base time. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, some of the resources that we've tried to provide are those that focus and harness the energy of our members. So task lists, productivity worksheets that just kind of help you remain focused. We've provided FAQs for buyers and sellers so that those that feel like they are willing to navigate the market but want to know how to do it safely have some of those frequently asked questions addressed up front. Lots of contract resources that have come down from the state association, waivers associated with entering properties or not, and just kind of informing everyone. And really just trying to give high level guidance while still respecting the position that brokers play in really giving specific guidance on business practices and policies. So we want to be there for them and be a news source to Elizabeth's point that is positive and that is, but realistic about the challenges that we're facing in just such a weird time.
What, I would love to know kind of what, just truly what kind of feedback and responses you get when you speak, when you say things that might be uncomfortable for people that have been in the industry for a long time. When you were on stage with Inman, like, what are some of the
that video
you're getting? Because
the video,
I know people are like squirting in their seat. I mean, tell like, because I love what you're doing, and I think making people uncomfortable sometimes is a very strong, you know, it's a very strong quality of leadership, right? And
yeah,
like I said, you're shaking things up. What are some of the responses and reactions you're getting?
Well, my husband would say, no, I'm just kidding. He would be a very different story.
I'm sure.
You know, I think people are responding positively. I think there are many people that I wish somebody had said that a long time ago, or I've been thinking that for a really long time and was either unwilling or not heard when I said it. So I get that a lot. Like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, you know?
She said.
Yeah. They're like, they pile on, that's great. I'm happy to do it. I didn't know that this is really who I was for a long time. Like, I didn't know that I was making people uncomfortable when I said things that I just thought needed to be said. And so I've since learned, you know, that is obviously a more direct style of leadership, but it's the only way I know to be. And I do that because I have trust and respect for the people that I'm in relationship with, for the community that I'm in relationship with. I can absolutely be wrong, but I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'm going to hear what you think, and we're going to work through that in dialogue and get to the other side and be better for it. And so I hope that people perceive of me that I'm being genuine and authentic, because I am. And I hope that they know that I definitely don't think I have all the answers, because I definitely don't.
Oh, I love it.
Thanks.
I also think that being a leader who admits that we don't have all the answers is a very admirable quality, right? And that, again, gives room for growth in a collaborative fashion. I have found that to be really important right now, because even Elizabeth and I shared a phone call. Well, gosh, it's probably been 4 weeks ago now, but I said, I'm not really sure how to lead right now. I'm terrified. And we had a lot of conversation about that. Is we're going to navigate the best we can, and not having the answers is not the part that should freak us out or that we should be afraid of. It's not showing up that should be the thing that should scare us. So if we show up and we put it on the table and come from a collaborative mindset, we'll get through anything.
Yeah. I definitely, it was a hard lesson for me to learn in this position, that I did not have to have all the answers. I'm very much the kind of person that wants to have all the answers for my team. It's a mama bear instinct of like, I want to be there for them and with them all the time. And for my leadership team as well. But it took me a while to be comfortable with, great question, it's going to take, let me work on that. Or, we're not going to have the answer to that. We can't solve the problem of global pandemic right now, but we'll work on that tomorrow. And so but it's been a great growth and like learning thing for me, just to kind of figure out how to be uncomfortable not having the answer and moving through that stuff. But I do think that my job each and every day, especially as it relates to our 50+ staff members, is to just be there and be present and be honest with them. I tell them, I don't know when we're going back to the office, but I can tell you that this is how I'm going to think about that decision. And this is how I'll approach it when the time comes, but I don't know right now. And I think that they'd rather hear the truth from me than some, bullshit line about what's going to happen tomorrow. Right.
Well, that increases the respect, right? We respect people who are going to just tell us. If they don't know, I respect that much more than somebody like, now I don't really trust anything they're saying.
Yeah.
But like Renee said, she didn't know how to lead. And we talked about it. I was like, none of us do. Like, this is not something that we've ever been faced with. And it's not just a real estate specific. It's not just an industry specific. This is a global situation where everybody is in the same, unknowing how to lead correctly. And so I think you're right. It just kind of goes back to what is already in you, your style, and you just kind of go into that mode that and sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. And it's really about building others up, showing up, speaking up, saying, hey, I don't know how to do this right now. That's okay. Instead of hiding in the back corner with your head in the sand.
I think I'm very much too the kind of person that I have learned, especially through my experience with Barrett, with the transplant, where there was so much that I could not control. I've learned to focus on what I can. There are a lot of things that I can control. There are many that I cannot right now, but the ones that I can are the ones that I'm going to tackle. I can control how I lead my team. I can control how I communicate with them and how often I touch base with them and if they feel supported for the most part. But I can't control when we're going to go back to the office. So I'm not going to. I'm just, we're going to be prepared, and when it's time to make a move, then we'll make a move or whatever it is. But I think of that in terms of how you guys engage clients, that you really do have to guide them through what they can control and not, and set their expectations about what you can control and not. That's half your gig, is just preparing people and setting expectations for what's to come on what is, even on a normal basis, a pretty fluid process, but way more fluid and malleable right now.
Well, and they have that confidence and comfort when they know that we're on their side and we're their ally, right? I had a client call me today. Hey, do you have a minute? Just a quick second. Sure. And that quick second turned into an hour-long conversation, right? But that's what she needed, and in any other time, I wouldn't have been able to just stop whatever I was doing for an hour, right? So it's really diving into that. But our clients are looking to us for the answers. I mean, we have a lot more knowledge and with the process and the systems and the safety than they do. And so it's them coming to us, even if we don't have all the answers or necessarily think we know how to lead, we are leading in a way that's helpful for them. And so that's been really eye-opening for me as I keep having conversations with people, and I'm hearing different questions, and I know those answers, and it gives them a sense of peace, if you will.
Yeah. Like, at least this piece is settled, even if these 4 are not.
Right.
Yeah.
somebody's in control of something, right?
Yeah.
But when you say you don't want to control, you don't focus on the fear, I found that that takes too much energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just being in fear is just so much energy. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I don't want to be there. I don't have that energy to waste. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to, I mean, it's like I said, not every day is perfect. Yesterday was a tough day and I was very vulnerable and I wrote about it. But I have so many people reach out going, oh my gosh, thank you for saying that, because I'm there too. And it's okay to
Mm-hmm.
have a day or have your time. Just don't get stuck there.
Yeah, I had a lot of people when Barrett was very little and very, very sick, people would constantly ask me, how's the baby? How are you doing? How are you doing this? And they would like want to come at it with empathy, which was beautiful. But I would often tell them, we grieved for him and his health long ago. I knew when I was pregnant, we knew what was coming, but he's here now and he is amazing. And I am absolutely the luckiest mama on the planet to be his mama. And I believe that and always have, but that didn't mean that I didn't shed a tear in the children's hospital or that there weren't these moments that were really scary and upsetting. But generally, day to day, we put our fear on a shelf because he is amazing and worth every minute of it. And I think that that's true of the things that even we're experiencing now. I mean, we're all in fear about our businesses, about our well-being, our mental health through this time, but there are really beautiful moments that are happening in your homes that never would have happened if we weren't in this experience, and would not have been, it wouldn't be like this. It wouldn't. And so I'm really trying hard to kind of anchor too. And like, there's a lot of unknown and a lot of fear and a lot that's hard, but there are some really great things that are happening as a result of this.
Yeah, gratitude and grace are the two that I've been really focusing on, because we're all busy. Like, we get caught up in the things that aren't so important. And this is allowing all of us, like, I don't have to feel guilty that I'm spending more time with my kids, because everybody's all stuck in the house, right? And so I'm grateful for, yes, we're all going a little stir crazy, but I'm grateful for that. And so gratefulness and gratitude and grace are really what I've just changed my attitude and I'm really focusing on.
I love that.
Emily, I'm curious about the topic of it's across all industry, but let's talk specifically about real estate. Real estate agents out of necessity have all adopted new technologies to navigate through this time that we're all working from home, new strategies, new approaches, new tools, and that has been out of necessity for many. What are your thoughts on, if we look out and forecast into the future, the efficiencies we might see in our industry now that the consumer has adopted these same tools out of necessity? What are your thoughts on how we might see our industry evolve?
Yeah, no, totally an untapped future on that front is how I think about it. I think that there are things we absolutely cannot predict now that will definitely be true tomorrow as a result of this experience. One of the things I think about is, I keep seeing this really cute meme on social media that if you can like find your spouse online, then you can definitely buy a house online. And there's some truth to that, right? There are people who thought I would never buy sight unseen, or I could not do that. And especially with the amount of relocation that happens within Texas, most of the relocation in Austin actually comes from the other major cities within Texas, but there's quite a bit from outside of Texas as well. And, I think about how much more fluid could that business become when people really do get comfortable trusting that what they see is what they get. And how will it force the industry to move forward with higher standards for that too, so that we don't have, iPhone photos suffice for a listing presentation, for instance. But,
Amen.
So that's one of the things I think about is how far can we push the envelope on a consumer's comfort with regards to the potential purchase, the walkthrough, the virtual tour, all of that good stuff. And then how much more seamless can we create that experience to be? How much more integrated can it be with the MLS? How much more lifelike or real can it become for us through AI? I think we've known those technologies were there, and some of us really are early adopters and really pushing for it. Now they're a necessity. So to your point, we all get on board with how we leverage them in our business. And that's just going to help create a lot of momentum behind those things.
Well, it pushes the needle faster and further, right? I
Yeah.
mean, Elizabeth
And with less consternation, you know, like with more oomph behind it.
Elizabeth and I, you know, we're both tech savvy realtors who've been doing a lot of these technologies that are now being forced out of necessity. We've been doing these for years. It's kind of exciting to see that the consumer, what my hope is the consumer will then raise the bar in their expectation of the realtor, right? So that the realtors have no choice but full adoption as a standard moving forward, because it's just what's best for the customer.
You know, Renee, it's cool to hear you say it that way, because as an MLS and association, we talk through, you know, I could provide X, Y, or Z tools, but adoption is so difficult in this business. It is so hard to, you know, motivate 14,000 realtor people in our market to want to adopt and embrace this future, right? And I can understand that they're busy and it's hard to do new things and it's uncomfortable to do new things. And we don't always have the time that we have right now to think about how to make it work in our business and in our workflows. So but I love to hear you say the consumer will force my hand on that point at some point. And that, I think that's true. But I think that was sort of a, well, when is it going to happen thing for a long time. Now we really may be resetting their expectations.
Well, the more that the leaders talk about it and continue to shine a light on, number one, the ease of accessibility for these tools, because what we're using is not that difficult to learn. It's not like everything has a huge learning curve. I hope we continue to shine a light on it, because it will then elevate the whole industry. And then in return, hopefully the consumer opinion of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I had this, I host a podcast and I had a guest named Jeff Turner, who is a longtime tech entrepreneur in our business. We talked about, is technology the great equalizer? And he and I both agreed it's not an equalizer, because people are so darn resistant to utilizing it properly. It is, you know, it has the potential to be a beautiful equalizer in terms of creating continuity and flow in our marketplace. But until such time that people will adopt it, it can't do what it's meant to do, and it won't enable the great fluidity that we deserve.
One of the things I love about ABOR is when you always ask for surveys and you ask for questions and you send out these awesome books, right? So they will ask for they'll send out surveys because they truly want to know from the members. And you know how hard it is to get feedback from people anyway. And it's one more thing and what have you. But they've done a really good job. But then what they do is they allow you to pick from from these certain books. And they're awesome, awesome books, leadership books or what have you. And one of the last ones I got was Brene Brown, which, you know, I adore Brene Brown. But I've really gotten some other great books because ABOR recommended it. What are some of your favorite books, Emily? Leadership books or otherwise?
Oh man. Well, yeah. First of all, bribing is an excellent technique when managing association business. Yeah. We're rolling to bribe.
So why not work for agents, right?
You know, you got to do what you got to do, people.
Do I have to come get my Texas license so I can get some on this
list?
Now
I'll send a book to Renee because I feel like she's being left out. So yes, got you. You know, I'm reading Untamed right now by Glennon Doyle, and it's beautiful. It's just like this sick representation of, you know, things that we know are true. I mean, I think we know the box that we fit in day to day in our lives, but you know, you can feel young and spunky and feel like a great leader and like you're not in a box, but you still are. I mean, there are still some things that are ingrained in us so deeply that we don't stop to think about, are they right for us or not? And so it's been just a really, I don't know, it's been deep. It's been a good dig. So I'm really into Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I read fiction a lot. I read every night. This has been the most amount of TV I've watched in years, just because we're stuck and it rained all those weekends, as Elizabeth knows. So I'm generally a reader of all fiction, but I also, Marie Forleo has a book called Everything is Figure-Outable. That's one of the books that ABOR gave at the top of the year. Yeah.
I think about it, but I haven't been able to read it yet, but that's the one. I'm really excited about that book.
Yeah. Yeah. So I helped pick that one. And I like it because I think it's just like so obvious, but we don't think that way. That everything really does have an A to Z steps. We just sometimes we have trouble breaking it down that way. So I like that idea that anything can be done. It just, you got to take a minute to kind of piece it apart and pick it apart. So those are some that I'm reading right now.
Well, a friend of ours who came on, a leader that I just highly respect, his name's Sean Rawls. He just wrote a book called Effortless, and it hasn't come out yet, but when it does, I'll have to send you a link because you might want to send that out to to the members, because it was talking about 18 F words that really—
That's my jam.
I know. I'm like, I love this. And I said, Sean, come on, you got to send us a book. And so it might be delayed, but I think it's, I mean, he was talking about family, faith, fitness, all these different things.
Oh, those F words.
Oh, there was another one too. Don't worry, Emily.
Sure, knowing Sean, he's probably thrown in a couple of, unknowingly unmentionables. But I think that I love that. I love titles like that. I love books like that just kind of catch your attention and grab you and suck you in. So we'll have to, whenever it launches, because he's not giving us any advance notice on that one.
I want to see it. You'll have to keep me posted on that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
We are so grateful that you took time out of what we know is a very busy schedule to sit down and chat with us. You're just amazing. You're amazing.
Oh, well, thanks. You guys have made my day.
Well, and I
really appreciate that.
I'm impacted directly by what you're doing. And so I want to say thank you. I love that. I love that you're being a leader on the big industry-wide real estate stage across the country, and you're representing Austin, Texas so well, right? But when I bring it down and it's much more hyper-local, and what you're doing and what your team is doing for us to make us better in our business, to make it easier for us in our business, right? Because we've got so many things we could be doing. I just appreciate that. It makes such a big difference. And so I want to say thank you, because I'm being directly impacted by your efforts.
Well, I really do appreciate it. I take every comment from our members to heart. I really have a sickness. I love Realtors. I love you guys so much, and serving you. I mean, serving you is like my greatest pleasure. It's truly, I love my gig, and I love the team we work with. We have an amazing staff at the Austin Board of Realtors. I owe them all a huge shout out. They've been killing it trying to provide resources for you in this time. So big shout out and love to all of my staff at A-Board too.
So are there things that you want to make sure that members or people know about the resources right now on aboard.com, or classes or anything special that you make sure that you want to bring attention to?
Yeah, A-Board, we launched a new virtual education vertical. So it's live virtual education. It is not just a Zoom though. It's, we really we took our time to build out a complete platform that has integrated resources and a smoother process and just feels very, very professional. We have staff moderating every class, which helps make it kind of keep it clean and keep a good environment in place when you've got a bunch of agents on video. So A-Board on Air is live for associations in other parts of the country that maybe have not launched that vertical, but they're looking to figure out how to do that. I would love for them to give me a shout. Chenevert at aboard.com is the best way to get me. You can find me on social media too. I answer all the things. But we really want to help other associations launch that live virtual education, because we think it's really critical, not just now, but we think it will be in the future. And, we all should have done it a long time ago anyway. We're just busting our butts now. The other thing I might mention is that, like I said, I host a podcast. It's called the Scratch That Podcast. Got a whole bunch of industry leaders. It's conversations like these, primarily focused in real estate for realtors all over the country. And I hope it might be a good listen if you're looking for some extra resources while you're home.
You're awesome.
I got to listen to that podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You have to come beyond the podcast. That would be fun.
Sold. We'll be there.
Yeah. Okay. Love it.
Emily, anytime we can be a resource or help you, we just appreciate you so much spending time with us today, and keep doing what you're doing and keep leading the charge and making everybody proud.
Thank you. You guys too. I appreciate it. And this was the best part of my day, I assure you.
Go hug those babies and enjoy your silver lining, because I know you're focused on that too.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.